What's going on, you guys? So I guess about 5 or 6 days ago I made a video talking about Kaspa and how it's going to pump to the moon, but I guess not anytime soon, at least not this year. And yeah, it's the type of stuff that that could trigger some people. With that said, I'm a Kaspa maxi, so it's not like I'm hoping for the worst for Kaspa. I'm hoping for the best, and I'm sure it's going to come. I know it's going to come, but there's a lot of data out there that sort of I don't know, it makes me think that we have a very, very, very prolonged bull cycle this time around, and it's sort of contrary to what a lot of these influencers out there are saying. They promised a Lambo in November, just because they always say that every single bull cycle top is in November, which is not true, and things like that. So I set myself up for a lot of hate. But let's dive into it with some more info that I was looking into and just thinking about that I didn't include in that video. If you want to see that video, it's just like published like 4 or 5 days ago, and it was a ton of information. I guess it was just too much information for one video, right? But here we go. So I'm looking at the current state, like what's going on this year. And I'm comparing it to last year with the run-ups that we had. So early last year we had this right here, this run-up starting in January, and it just pumped, right? And then pumped from this of January right up until April, right? So it was pretty good first week of April, and then it went down, of course. And this right here, I'm actually a bit surprised with it's not. There isn't actually a higher high here, because I remember this here in June, July. I remember a lot of tokens pumping, a lot of all-time highs. This is when Kaspa made its all-time high, right? 20 cents. Brett made an all-time high. A few other tokens on the base, like lower caps on base. I made some some good gains, some all-time highs. And yeah, it is only like a 28% pump, right? But yeah, the mother token pumped like hell. Yeah, but I don't know if I consider this a run up or more like a recovery. But I remember from based on my bags, I remember this over here at first. I remember this, and of course I remember this, which was the Trump pump, right? So going forward to what we got going on this year. So this is this year, right? This is right here is January, and we're going down, 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 right? And we have this sort of like recovery right here, last week of April, first couple weeks of May. It sort of makes me think like this right here is this right over here. But yeah, so it's sort of like a recovery, not necessarily a pump. I didn't really see too many all-time highs with I don't know, with hardly anything, right? I did see on a newer token some of the new tokens that launched in this time period. They made some all-time highs. There's this token that recently just dumped like last week called O'Malley, which is Matt Ferry's cat. That pumped like hell, and then suddenly it's just like it went to hell afterwards. So we'll see what happens with that. And there's a few others in my community that link in the description below if you want to join, by the way. But yeah, we have these processes that find new tokens at a very, very low market cap. These algorithms, it's not a plugin. Every time I mention that in my videos, people ask, what plugin do you use in Discord for? I'm like, no, man, it's all custom made. Yeah, like a few of them pumped, to mention a few, like Wallet Token was one of them. Wallet Connect token. So Wallet Connect, that Wallet Connect you see on websites when you connect your wallet, they launched a token, and that was one of them we got in early on, and it pumped during this time period. But this is nothing more than a recovery. But we have yet to see, and now we are halfway through this year, 6 months in, and we haven't seen any pumps yet. And we do have this thing with global liquidity pumping like hell around the world, not in the United States, but around the world. And the expectation is that is going to flow into assets, and we're going to see some major pumps in the crypto market. And it could happen. could start happening tomorrow for all we know. It could I mean, this green candle right here, it could be the start of it, knock on wood. Hopefully it is. Or it could start happening next week or 2 weeks from now, whatever. And we could see a top in August, right? But if that does happen, so we're long overdue. So we went from January, we'll go from all the way out to August without another local top. So it just doesn't seem like a post-halving year at all, right? Because everything is different with this bull cycle. So, and if that happens, I don't know. If we see a local top in August, are we really going to see the bull run top in November? I mean, I don't think there's enough time for that. It's going to obviously retrace, come back down, and we might not see anything in November. What we might see in November is a big sell-off where people realize there's no alt season, and a lot of these retail investors are just going to get flushed out of the market. They're going to be fed up, and I'm like, I'm done with crypto. And then we're going to see some some all-time lows again, I would imagine, if that happens. But I'll get back to that in a second. Well, one thing I didn't touch on in my previous video was I talked about, and I ran through all the cycles, right? So there were four bull cycles, right, with 4 tops. 2 of them were 2 years. 2 of them lasted 2 years. 2 of them lasted 4 years, right? 1 of them was November. 2 were in December. 1 was in June. Now, this obviously is very different from what you hear from all these other influencers out there. They say that every single top is in November, right? And it's always 4 years. And surprisingly, some of these guys who are saying that now that they're saying that they're at least acknowledging that some of their followers are saying this is going to be an extended bull run, because the word is starting to get around and people are starting to think. But there's still a lot of them are still like steadfast and saying, no, the top is going to be November. I mean, I don't know. I don't get it. But one thing that I found when I go to M2 Money Supply, right, and I set the dates for each cycle, right? So right now we have January of 2018, which is right after the December top in 2017, up until right up until January 2022, which is after the November top in 2021, right? And I set the percentage. I set it to, but I set it by percent change at a monthly frequency, and I got this. Obviously, this huge money supply top is because of COVID, right? But what I found was whenever I did this, in every single top, there's every single bull cycle top right here. So this is November 2021, which is the last top of Bitcoin, right? In every single cycle, there's a money supply top from 18 to 24 months prior, right? Every single cycle. If I set this for the 2013 to 2017 top, the 2013 to 2017 cycle, there's a money supply top around 18 to 24 months prior. If I set it from the 2011 to the 2013 cycle, right, 2 years, right, there's just prior, there's a money supply top like 2 months after the previous 2011 top, right? And the 2011 top was in June, right? So, and obviously that first cycle is the first cycle. It's the Genesis block of Bitcoin. It's before the halving. But the first, that's interesting though, right? The first top had nothing to do with the halving because the halving hadn't happened yet, right? The first halving. So, but yeah, I mean, that's interesting. But what I think my point is, I explained all of that in that video, I guess in summary, and I obviously I went through all the charts and it took longer to do it. But the point that I'm making right now that I didn't mention in that video was that, so we had 2 cycles of 4 years each, lasted 4 years. But if COVID didn't happen, we wouldn't have had this spike in money supply in April, right? So we have obviously March and April of 2020, right? So if you think about it, based on all of that, based on what I've just said, with a money supply top happening, and then 18 to 24 months later, there's a Bitcoin top, this money supply top would not have happened here. It might have happened like a year later, which means that the previous cycle that was 4 years could have been 5 years, right? It very well might have been 5 years. I mean, I can almost say with certainty that if COVID didn't happen, the top would never have happened in November 2021. It would have at least been a few months later. I mean, at least, right? So that's something I didn't mention. So, I mean, I ponder all these things and I think about it all the time. I'm like, there's no actual reason why the top of this cycle has to happen in November of this year. Now, if you think about it, we're at the end of June right now. So let's say, for example, let's say that this is July 1st, for example, right, which is next week. So let's count this out right now, right? So let's say it's July 1st. We got August 1st, September 1st, October 1st, November 1st. We got 4 months. 4 months to go from where we are now to the top of the bull run. Now, I know you're saying, yeah, that's possible. Things do like 100x in a few months and so on. Things are, it happens with alt season and so on. Bitcoin is strong. All the institutional investors need to do is just start selling off their Bitcoin and take profits and put it into the alts. Yeah, I get it, right? But one thing I want to point out here, if we look at the Bitcoin dominance chart, right? It took right around here for the 2017 cycle, right? It took from January all the way to right down here, right here, right? This is the top right here in December, right? So we had the top in like mid-December from January all the way down to here, and this is alt season right here, right? So, and it took a year. It took a year for Bitcoin dominance to go down, a full 12 months. Again, here with the 2021 cycle, right? So here we are again, January, right? And all the way down here. See, we're at Bitcoin dominance 71%, right? Goes down to 40, 41, 40, and down here is 39. It goes, so this is November. The top is here in November. So January to November, right? And then November, December, that's all season, right? So it took a very, very long time. It took a year. It took a full year for Bitcoin dominance to just go down to get us into alt season. Now what we have going on here, what do we have here? We have a never-ending increase in Bitcoin dominance. Bitcoin dominance is still not finished going up. I remember I did a video just like less than a week ago, and I was just talking about Bitcoin dominance, and I was like, look, it made an all-time high for the cycle. I mean, look at this. It's at its all-time high, so it just keeps going up. So we have, in order for the top to happen in in November, we have 4 months to turn this around and just go all the way down. I don't think so. Now, what I do think would happen is that, like I said, a lot of people are going to realize that alt season is not going to happen in November, right? They're going to realize, oh, they've been lied to by all their favorite influencers and so on that are promising them a Lambo in November, and it didn't happen. A lot of them are going to get fed up, whether it's 5% of the market or 10%. I mean, that's a lot, but a lot of people are going to get fed up and they're just going to leave the market. And then what's going to happen, we're going to see amazing prices, right? Here's my Kaspa Power Law chart I made last November. We're going to see, so let's just say this happens, this is November. We're going to see some absolutely amazing prices again with a lot of coins, including Kaspa and pretty much everything, because a lot of people are going to be dumping because they're going to exit the market. And what might happen at that point, all the big time investors, smart money is going to say, wow, we got some amazing deals with alts. Let me just cash out, take my profits with Bitcoin that I've been earning those last couple of years, and let me just buy some of the alts. they're going to pump the alts, and then new people are going to enter the market, right? We're going to have some people exit, but then new people are going to enter the market, and they're going to start the trend towards they're going to start the trend towards Bitcoin dominance going down, and it could happen much faster than the 1 year, right? It could happen much faster than 1 year, but the downward trend in this scenario, the downward trend doesn't start until November in my scenario here. And now, obviously, I could be wrong. There's just so many things that could happen. Like, this is crypto, right? But let's say this 6 months downward trend from Bitcoin dominance all-time high for the cycle going down all the way down to alt season, instead of happening 12 months, it happens 6 months, right? But if that trend starts in November, we're looking at like a May. We're looking at a May top of 2026, right? Because I know what you're saying. Well, if we don't have a money supply top yet, which is true, right? This is actually kind of crazy, right? So we don't have a money supply top yet, and that's like a whole other can of worms right there. So 2022 up until we got May, right? Cool. This is a money supply. This is global M2. So there's no top, right? There's no just huge spike in this entire cycle, right? And you might say, well, Mike, if you've noticed that there's a money supply top in this chart 18 to 24 months prior to the Bitcoin top, then that means that we still have at least 2 years down the road before there's another Bitcoin top. Like, man, I don't know. That's scary. I tend to think that is more likely that the other scenario I just talked about would happen, where things start to flip around this November when a lot of people just bleed out of the market, and we get smart money buying into alts, and then new market participants come in, let's say come January, February, and so on, and then that's when Bitcoin dominance goes down. I think that more likely. Or, I mean, it's just going to be some sort of a hybrid of something, right? Because right now they're talking about cutting interest rates, and the money supply is pumping worldwide with all the other central banks, and there are multiple things to consider. One thing is that people don't realize that cutting interest rates doesn't mean money printing, right? It doesn't mean that things are going to pump because you cut interest rates. It incentivizes investment, and then you have things pumping, you have more jobs, and you have things like that. But it's not necessarily money printing. Now, money printing is something similar yet different, where the Fed would increase their balance sheet via buying bonds, and then buying bonds from banks, and then banks use that excess money to loan out, and then again, economy pumps. But yeah, money printing is the Fed just magically putting money into their account, then using it to buy bonds. So they're injecting money into the economy. So which is different from merely cutting interest rates. So both help in this scenario when it comes to assets, because all that will just eventually flow into assets like Bitcoin. So we have some interesting times ahead when it comes to that. It also might go to show that when things start pumping in that regard, when it comes to cutting interest rates, and when it comes to money printing, and if that starts happening, over the next 6 months or so, and the whole Bitcoin dominance thing just flips around, we're going to see a huge, like a gigantic top, next year. So all that combined is just it's going to be like, this is going to be like the pain, and it's going to, that we're enduring right now, and it's all going to be worth it. And if coincidentally, when I made this Kaspa Power Law chart last November, and I was targeting December for the top, where are you right now? Hold on. So let's say right about here, it says max resistance on, it said max resistance for Kaspa this December was $1.80, right? But we've had all this horrible price action that max resistance and the minimum support levels of this power law chart is modified just because of this price action. And now it says that max resistance for December of this year is $1.25, which is, you know, I don't know. It's crazy. I also think that Kaspa is not even go past 50 cents this year. So you see here, the average power law is right here is 43 cents, right? I think that maybe we can get another top this year and it can go to 40 cents, or maybe not, right? If we get another top, in November, I'm sorry, if we get another top in the next couple of months because of everything that's going on, let's say we get a top in August, will Kaspa go to like 40 cents? I mean, I doubt it. And then will there be time for another top by the end of the year? I know, I doubt it. This is what I'm saying. This is where I get a lot of hate, you know, and people are like, but I'm going to get a Lambo in November, you know? And I'm like, I don't know, man. We got to look at the numbers and got to be realistic. So in the long run, I have a lot of hopes for Kaspa. So if we go back to May here, 2026, which is what I was just talking about, right? We get to that point of that $1.80 max resistance. And I don't believe that. I think at the top of the cycle, at Kaspa's top, not Bitcoin's top of the cycle, I think Kaspa's top of this entire cycle, I think it's just going to like break through resistance. I mean, because there's so much going on. I had a guy in the comments saying that you didn't include smart contracts in your price predictions and so on. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I wasn't really explaining all the stuff that's going to make Kaspa great. I mean, I think all of us watching this video know how great it is, or if you don't, you should research it. But I think the point of this video is that, you know, trying to put some truth out there and catch some resistance, and it's not all bells and whistles. It's not going to be like, because if you're over here thinking that everything is going to come to an end and you're going to buy a Lambo in November, you're going to be in for a surprise. So don't let these influencers sway you in that way. Other than that, guys, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Make sure you click that like and subscribe button. This power law chart is in this description. So you can click that link. You can check it out. It's at my website, cryptorich.vip. Like I said earlier that I touched on, that we not only have a community, we have like a ton of software. We build software like crazy to help us trade. We have, you know, software that finds coins at a very low market cap and, you know, that eventually pump to the moon. We have, I can browse over here. You can see I've added some of these to the homepage and so on. We've seen all these X's, right? Like, you know, Peanut, I made a killing with Peanut. Fart Coin is another one. I did an 86X. It was found by the software in my community, but some of my community members bought it. And I actually thought it was stupid when the software in my community first found it at a 30 million market cap, and I didn't buy into it very early. So, but yeah, I mean, that's the point, that you don't have to rely on my buy alerts. You can just, you know, you receive the alerts anyway from the processes to find these coins. So yeah, it's a killer community, and we're constantly making improvements. So click that link in the description below, and I will catch you guys later.